Donald Trump starts his third week back in office with a new all-time high approval rating. This as a new 25% steel tariff on the rest of the world is set to begin. This is an article from the Post-Millennial. They write Trump approval ratings high after his first few weeks in office. After the first few weeks of his second term, President Donald Trump has a net positive approval rating among the American people, according to a new CBS News poll. The poll found that 53% of Americans approve of Trump's job performance, while 47% disapprove. This marks a shift from his first term, during which he held a negative approval rating for most of his presidency. Respondents described Trump with words such as tough, energetic, focused, and effective, with a majority agreeing that these terms accurately represent him. Additionally, 70% of Americans said Trump is fulfilling the promises he made during his campaign. On immigration, one of Trump's central campaign issues, 59% of Americans support his administration's effort to deport illegal immigrants. Naturally. Meanwhile, 64% approve of his decisions to deploy U.S. troops to the southern border, which he did upon taking office after declaring the border crisis national emergency. Which I should add, this by far will be his greatest strength in his second run here as president. Next to the economy, the largest issue that faces the American people is illegal immigration. Many Americans view it as tantamount to life and death for the survival of this country. The grift of allowing swarms of illegal aliens to flood the country was unmasked due to the carelessness of the Biden administration in their final 2 years in office, and people saw it. The Biden administration openly allowed over 5 million people to cross the border in their last 2 years, nakedly displaying their contempt for the rule of law. And for many Americans, this was just too much to bear. This is why you see such a wide swing in public approval rating on this. You see, if you go back in time to Trump's first term as president, while he had solid support from his conservative base on the issue of immigration, the country at large just wasn't ready for mass deportation, or in many cases deportation at all. But now they are. People have had enough. People want a return to normality. They want this idiotic, absurd saga of wanton crime, never-ending DEI nightmares, and crumbling inflation to just end. They want this to be over with and gone. Americans have been craving normality for a long time, and the Democrat Party has forgotten about this. For many people, especially in the last 4 years, and frankly since the pandemic, the world that was fast becoming a dream of better days that for many, they felt like it may never come back again. This played a huge, enormous role in why Trump smashed through his opponents like they weren't even there in both the primaries and then Kamala Harris in the national run. Because no matter what you think of Donald Trump, he is without a doubt the very essence, the quintessential example of classic blue-collar America. From the way he talks, to the way he bombastically and unabashedly takes on the world. The American public, they crave that. They want that. And now that he's back in office, he is doing as he promised, leading up to his swearing in. He promised shock and awe. To anyone that had been paying attention, they would have known this was coming. How many times did we see J.D. Vance come on, talk to the media and say, hey, we're going to do a flurry of executive orders. We're going to overwhelm them with a lot of wins that we're going to rack up in those first 100 days. And they've done it. It's been unprecedented. Executive order after executive order. Action on the border, sweeping aside the madness that was DEI, and of course, taking on the overwhelming corruption and fraud that has become the American federal government. All of this is like catnip to the American people. They desperately want to see true leadership. They want to see confidence. And this is what the feckless, incompetent leaders of the Democrat Party are failing to grasp right now. The Democrat Party has lost their way. The party that I grew up with, the party of Clinton, that party's long gone. They are hopelessly entangled with the machinations of the old order. They've become lost in the silly, the performative. I mean, even when picking the new leaders for the DNC, it was nothing but sheer embarrassment for those who watched. Take a look at this.
The rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. And I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on.
See, for the vast majority of the American people, when you see this kind of ridiculous, absurd displays, it makes sense why the Democrat Party is polling terribly. In fact, the Democrat Party's polling number is cratering to all-time record lows. This is a Quinnipiac University poll that was released in late January of 2025. It revealed that only 31% of voters view the Democrat Party favorably. Only 31%, while the unfavorable rating is 57%. This, by the way, marks the highest percentage of voters expressing a negative view of the Democrat Party since Quinnipiac began tracking this sentiment at all. The unfavorability rating is particularly pronounced among certain demographics. With independents, their disfavorable rating is 59%. With men, it is an overwhelming 67%, and with women, 47%. The Democrat Party, my friends, is lost in the desert. And unless they're willing to find their bearings, if they're willing to course correct, they may soon find themselves lost in the wilderness for a very, very long time. Which then takes me back to the present day and Donald Trump's latest announcement, tariffs.
Just so I understand,
we'll also be announcing steel tariffs on Monday.
On this tomorrow?
Monday, yeah, tomorrow.
What countries will those go on?
Everybody, steel.
Including Canada and Mexico?
Yeah, any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about aluminum, sir?
Aluminum, too.
Trump's decision to implement these tariffs, which he said will happen today, aligns closely with his campaign promises to revitalize American manufacturing and protect domestic industries. You see, the thinking behind these tariffs is by imposing them on imported steel and aluminum, Trump is aiming to make domestic production more competitive. This is consistent with his promise to shield them from foreign competition. Trump is arguing that these tariffs will safeguard and generate new jobs within the U.S. He has said, under my plan, American workers will no longer be worried about losing your jobs to foreign nations. Instead, foreign nations will be worried about losing jobs to America. Donald Trump is continuing to prioritize his own people above others. And to Donald Trump, the reason why this is so important is that a lot of countries have been taking advantage of us, having their own tariffs on us all this time while we've done nothing in return. He has consistently criticized what he perceives as unfair trade practices by other countries. And these tariffs are part of his strategy to rebalance the trade relationships with us and the rest of the world. Now, while the tariffs may align with Trump's campaign promises, they of course have drawn mixed reactions from critics. Many economists argue that tariffs will lead to higher prices for American consumers and businesses. And the Tax Foundation projects that tariffs on China alone could add to an estimated $172 in additional tax burden per U.S. household. And of course, there's the complaints that tariffs could strain relationships with key allies and trading partners, potentially leading to retaliatory measures. And of course, there is the concerns of higher tariffs, disrupting supply chains and increasing production costs. The American people are solidly behind his administration right now. And as he continues to bombard his opponents with relentless executive orders, with DOGE attacks on federal agencies and crime and border getting cleaned up in the U.S., at least that's the perception, right? The American people are looking at President Donald Trump as a man who keeps his word. And perhaps just as importantly, someone who also gets it done.